Okay, so let's have a look at these surfaces. What we'll probably end up doing where this is like coming away from the edge, I'm going to radius that back under so it ends up kind of tight to it again. We can get rid of this cross section, don't want that. I'll pick this one, Control C, Control V. I'm going to move it from there. And let's see if there's some kind of point here we can work to. Yeah, there's a knot there, that will do. So another single rail sweep. Cross section's already done. Okay, that looks okay to me. And we should have a 2mm thickness there because we did an offset, so that will work. So we should just be able to extrude this edge and this, oops, actually just that edge to start with. So I'm going to extrude that down to the same distance as that. So just to show you what I did there, I'm going to undo that, right click to repeat the command, pick the edge I want, right click, so I'm now extruding up and down. You can see I'm moving my mouse. If I pull downwards and then hover near this corner, it will extrude to the same depth as this piece. Now we've got enough information. Actually, I'm just going to turn off the curves because they're confusing the computer a little bit and confusing me a little bit. Let's put those on the curves layer. Single rail sweep, this edge, and that one. Same here. So that's kind of created a complete cap there. Join that together. We got to do some cutouts here to clear these few pieces. So first one we want to do is in this view. So I'm just going to do a rectangle. Actually, we might want to do an offset surface first, I'm thinking. So we'll do an offset of this first. Make sure we get the surface command first. It's going to be easier to offset this surface, then do our cuts, than do our cuts and try and offset, because the offset then will get confused with all these kind of different angles going on. So before I do that, I want to add another refined radius to this edge. So we've got a radius on top of a radius just to kind of tidy things up. Maybe a little bit larger than that. Try a 5. See if we can go all the way around this edge, in fact. That's too big now. In fact, it's just that edge that's the problem. So we'll just stick with this outer edge. Okay, so that works for that. Now we've got to run another radius. It's going to be a much smaller one. Again, I've talked about this in other tutorials. If you try to radius between two surfaces that are 90 degrees, quite a small number will create quite a large radius. If you're radiusing between two surfaces that are not 90 degrees to one another, i.e. this flat surface and this curved one, a large number will actually end up quite small. So we did a 5mm radius around there. To demonstrate my point, if I do a 5mm radius on this edge, it ends up huge and really can't figure itself out. So right click to repeat the command. We're going to run a radius around here. This needs to be a lot smaller, so let's try 0.5. It's one of these situations where it needs to go down that edge as well, and that edge, and these ones. And let's just tidy that up nicely. So I'm good with that. In fact, we can make that slightly bigger. Let's see what a 1 does. Okay, that works for me. So join all that together, turn off our isopalms, offset the surface. Direction's correct, it's 2 mil offset. Didn't do a solid though. Actually, just for the sake of analysis, I'm going to hide this, and that new surface there shouldn't impact on any of this underneath. So what we've done there is correct, that's good. So I'm going to undo, don't have our offset anymore. Just checking the offset's not there. So now I want to re-offset, but this time I want to turn on solid. So up here, solid's turned off. So S on the keyboard, it's now turned on. Enter again. And we've got a solid. One thing I want to check, we've actually ended up with a drop down angle here, which we don't want. So I'm going to hide everything else. We've got an odd little radius there. So I'm just going to chop all that off, just neaten things up. The way we're going to do that is with a straight line all the way through. Clears all of that stuff. Extrude. D for direction. Drag the direction across. Make sure that this new surface definitely intersects everything. Split our main surface with the new one. Hold down Control, click the piece I want. For some reason that hasn't split everything. So I'm going to undo that. Explode everything. Split again. Use this surface again. It's now splitting all these individually. I'll pick everything underneath the line. Delete it away. So pick everything underneath that line. Delete it. So now we've got two defined outer and inner surfaces. They split through this. So I'm going to pick all of those, join them together, pick our main our extruded surface, split that with both of these objects. Delete those, Control A, join. Put that curve on a curve layer. Now this surface has a flat bottom edge. I want to add a radius around this bottom edge now. I'm going to go all the way around with this. This might not be big enough. I have to do all of this again. There's a quicker way of doing it if I do. Yeah, it wasn't big enough, so undo. This time, instead of doing that all the way around, I'm going to hide everything else. Go to our radius command once more. 0.25 was too small, so 0.5 this time. Change the view. Instead of me trying to find all the edges, I'm just going to drag and do this. Should have done that the first time. Only thing is it's picked the inside edges, so I've just got to deselect them. And he said deselect, which is not a word. And let's put a radius on that edge. I'm fine with that. Now we can do our chops that will clear these details. So let's do that now. It's in this view. Control A, we've got a lot of isopalms going on, it's getting confusing. So draw a rectangle. All we're going to do is just clear these pieces. Move that up just a little bit. Extrude that rectangle through here. Split this surface with the rectangle. Split the rectangle with the surface. Clears that. Join it all together. This clasp, in order for the whole thing to open, needs to flip all the way up. So we need to cut some clearance for that as well. I'm going to hide the clasp so I can see what I'm doing. Basically going to duplicate this lower edge here and use that to cut. I'm just going to duplicate this edge, and then the next lesson I'm going to do the actual cut. Duplicate and join, and that's the end of this lesson. So next lesson we'll cut that hole through, a few more details to add to the lid, and then just a hinge to add at the back so that it joins onto the main body.